New information on that AirAsia Flight 8501 has surfaced, and some aviation officials are wondering why the plane was allowed to fly at all. Indonesia's Ministry of Transport says a full investigation into the flight reveals they didn't have a license to fly from Surabaya to Singapore on that Sunday. AirAsia flights have now been suspended between the two cities until further notice. Wreckage and bodies continue to be located in the Java Sea after the flight went missing just last week. Bad weather has caused delays, and as conditions improve, plans to deploy divers are now being considered. The flight lost contact with air traffic control only 5 minutes after asking for permission to increase altitude in bad weather. Although no distress call was received, aviation authorities suspect an aerodynamic stall based on storm conditions and speed. The plane was carrying 162 passengers on board. The militant group Boko Haram has caused more fear in Nigeria as they overthrow a military base in the town of Baga. Just this last weekend, the group abducted 40 men and boys from the nearby small village Malari. Residents of Baga said that they witnessed the town set ablaze and random acts of extreme violence. Reporters of soldiers running from the base caused panic and confusion. The amount of casualties cannot be confirmed due to poor communication service in the area. Boko Haram has been attacking Nigerian towns and villages on a daily basis and was declared a terrorist group since 2013 by the U.S. Over 2,000 people have died just in the last year from militant violence in Nigeria's northeast. Syrian refugees are now facing restrictions upon entering Lebanon due to the violence caused by a civil war between Syrian rebels and President Bashar al-Assad. Over 1 million Syrian refugees have fled to Lebanon. Almost 1 out of 5 people living in Lebanon is a Syrian refugee. In an attempt to control the overflow of people, Syrians will have to apply for a visa in order to travel between the two countries. A huge strain on food and government resources is even causing some government resentment from citizens of the country. This is the latest attempt to try and stop the overflow of refugees into Lebanon. Tragedy at a wedding party after Afghan soldiers accidentally fired rockets into a southern Afghanistan home. 28 people are now dead and 51 people injured, including children. According to police, the attack was meant for Taliban militants who had taken shelter near the wedding. This occurred only hours before the Afghan military was allowed full control of the area as the U.S. NATO mission came to a close. Police say that they have arrested 2 soldiers and are now investigating 8 more for their roles in the incident. Hostility and repugnancy is what North Korea is calling the most recent sanctions handed them by the U.S. North Korea has been blamed for the most recent cyber attacks on Sony Motion Pictures involving the controversial film The Interview. The U.S. government handed sanctions to 3 agencies and 10 officials from North Korea as an attempt for retaliation. Many foreign financial analysts believe that sanctions will have little effect on the country since very little North Korean capital lies in Western banks. The country continues to deny any involvement in the hacking, but has called the attack a righteous deed. Tension between China and North Korea after a North Korean army defector committed armed robbery. A Chinese bank was robbed last month, leaving 4 people dead in the border city of Halong. Now China has announced a protest with North Korea's capital regarding the attack. A Chinese ministry spokesperson said that they would handle the matter in accordance with the law. The robber was a North Korean army deserter, and since the incident, it was reported that North Korean leader Kim Jong-un had realigned its border troops. According to other defectors and activists, since Un came to power, he has increased and strengthened border security as an attempt to stop those who want to desert their position in the future. French President François Hollande is looking to end Western sanctions in Russia. The president says that he has talked with Russian President Vladimir Putin and that the Russian leader doesn't want to annex eastern Ukraine. Hollande says that if progress is made during upcoming Russian talks regarding the Ukraine crisis, then Russian sanctions should be lifted. The French president was not inclined to say which or WHO sanctions, but said that some Europe and U.S. forces were out to cripple Russia. He also said that he will be attending a summit regarding the situation on January 15th, but only if there was a real prospect of progress. Russia continues to deny accusations of backing Ukraine separatists with weapons and troop reinforcements, but does not admit to allowing volunteers to fight against the Ukrainian government. A distress signal sent out last Friday has led to a fading hope for survivors of a sunken Bermuda cargo ship. The ship, traveling from Malaysia to China, was carrying over 46,000 tons of bauxite bulk when it sank off the coast of Vietnam. One survivor was rescued and 2 bodies were recovered from the water, but due to extreme weather conditions, a rescue mission has become increasingly difficult. The cargo ship company Gearbulk wrote on their website, "Our focus is now on the search and rescue operation and to look after the families affected." Authorities have launched an investigation into why the ship capsized and how it eventually sank.